we've talked a little bit about this. You used to live in Florida.
Mm-hmm.
You've seen rocket launches. Yeah. Sometimes you were just at work and stepped outside and saw them.
Yep.
What did you think of this?
I wasn't up to date on this, so I wasn't. I didn't know this was up and coming.
Sure.
So I don't know. It's always nice to see these kind of things. They're always fascinating. Checking out the launches, and the only thing I don't know is I don't know the goal of this this launch and this mission.
Okay. Because everyone is making a huge deal about it.
Yeah.
So first of all, let's maybe watch this.
All right.
Put it over here. Full screen. And now I've lost the mouse. Okay, here we go.
6, 5, 4, 3.
So it's hard to catch the scale, but that thing is huge. It's almost 400 feet tall.
Yeah.
It's basically almost a 40-story building taking off.
Yeah.
And if you notice right away, they show down in the corner here what engines are lit. Because there's 33 engines,
Right.
and there's 3 that are out right now.
Yeah. And that's not on purpose.
I'll go into it in a second.
Oh,
see, now another one went out. You see that?
Yeah, I think that when I saw it, there were 5 that I was keeping track of.
I think they lose a total of 6.
Okay.
But right now they're at 4. But the sound we're hearing is actually from inside of SpaceX, and the employees are going nuts. There goes another engine. Now we're at 5. And now if you notice, that's a good shot right there. You can actually see the engines. It's really line up with their little graphic in the corner.
Continuing to watch the first stage as we head down range.
Okay, now let's fast forward just a little bit here.
Okay, sure.
Minutes. Onboard view.
Okay, so they're at 24 kilometers right now, and they're still climbing. And they're supposed to separate. So this is a 2-stage rocket. So there's a bottom stage and a top stage. 29 kilometers, 30 kilometers. Where are we at right now? 5 engines out.
Continuing to fly.
34 kilometers.
Let's get ready for main engine cutoff.
35 kilometers.
Beginning to flip for
36. 37 kilometers. And now here's I've seen this before.
Okay.
So here's a problem.
Okay.
So 38 kilometers. The speed is slowing way down, real fast.
Oh, yeah,
So
sure is.
39 kilometers
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
And it's twisting around.
Yeah.
You can see it.
It sounds like everyone knows something's going on.
Well,
Because speed's going
As
now.
of right now, we are awaiting stage separation.
okay, so it was 39 kilometers. Now it's 38 kilometers.
Starship should separate from the Super
37
Heavy booster.
kilometers. And so they're waiting for a stage separation. 36.
Looks like we saw the start of the flip, but obviously we're seeing from the ground
And
cameras.
it's not
the entire
separating.
Starship stack continuing to
Now it's
rotate. We
35,
should have had separation
34.
by now. Obviously,
And so then the
this is,
problem with
does
this
not
is
appear to
they're
be a
evidently not
nominal
gaining
situation.
altitude.
Yeah, it does appear to be spinning, but
And
I
then-
do want to remind everyone that everything after
Yes,
clearing the
speed's
tower
going up.
was icing on
Oh,
the cake.
And then that happens. But people are still going nuts.
Yeah.
And there, as you saw, as we promised,
Okay,
an
so
exciting
let me
end to the Starship.
let me stop this.
Okay.
So let's talk about what we just looked at.
Okay.
Because I feel like I'm a nerd. I'm definitely into space stuff.
Yeah.
This is something I'm interested in, but sort of like how you said, you weren't completely aware of what was going on, or maybe why we were doing it, or why I'm saying we were doing it, like I was part of it, but I meant like why SpaceX is doing it, and I feel like the general public maybe isn't as interested as I am, which is fine. They can be interested in whatever they're interested in, and I'm interested in something else.
Yeah.
So, and I think the other piece I just want to get into that kind of irks me a little bit, and I think it's just because different people are into different things, is if you watch anyone online who's into space, they're going to call this it's a success. And if you heard all the SpaceX employees cheering and they were just going nuts,
Right.
they were like, this is incredible. And then when it obviously exploded,
Yeah.
they were still going nuts.
Yeah.
But then if you watch like the everyday news you'd see on TV, they're like, SpaceX exploded another rocket.
Right.
And they're kind of like, I guess it was another failure. But then anytime they bring on someone who is into space stuff and they go to interview them, like, hey, what's your take? Like I was watching one from Canada, and they had talked to a Canadian astronaut, and they were like, what's your take on this failure? And the guy started right out with what I would say is, he looks right at the reporter and he goes, I'm sorry, I think you've got it all wrong.
Yeah.
This is actually a big success.
Yeah.
But when you see that, what do you think? Do you think it exploded? I mean, you're mildly interested in space
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah, I am. And not knowing the goal of the mission, I would have said, I don't know, because I would have looked at it like not to whatever. But I would have looked at it as both ways. As like, I don't think it was a complete mission, but it didn't seem like a failure, and especially going by like the cheers that you're hearing in the video, like it sounds like there may have been something kind of like experimental with this. So they are extremely excited that they achieved, what they were going for, even though it wasn't a complete mission.
Right.
So this seems like it's like, not a total failure, because this is like the beginning of the next steps.
Yeah. So first of all, I should say what we just watched. There's no people on that, and this spacecraft is a prototype. It's an experiment. So I kind of want to go back into a little bit of a rant here, but a little bit back in time, and to look at kind of space culture in this country has been mainly dominated until very, very recently by NASA. And the deal with NASA, the way it works is, of course, it's paid for by tax dollars. So the problem with that is that they set out goals, and some of the goals are some pretty extreme goals to do some things that we've never done before, like putting someone in space for the first time or landing on the moon. That's some pretty extreme things. But when you're dealing with an organization like that who is funded by the government, and we know that it's going to be expensive, you have to answer for that. And so what the general public doesn't want to see is explosions or failures. So the issue with that is that they do tests. If you are interested, you can go online and you can see videos of them testing rocket motors and previous rockets and how we actually got to the point where we could put somebody in space. There were failures. The difference between what's going on with NASA before and what is going on with SpaceX now is a couple different things. So number one, SpaceX doesn't take the same philosophy that NASA does. NASA is like, let's test all the individual components, put it together. We spent a lot of taxpayers' dollars on this. We better have it right. We want zero failure.
Right.
What SpaceX is doing is less of what is known in space culture and more of what's known in, like, let's say, Silicon Valley startup, environment. And Silicon Valley is like, let's do something extraordinary. Let's be the first ones to do it. And if we break stuff along the way, as long as we learn from every failure and we fix it as fast as we can, then we're okay.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of how SpaceX works. They want to move fast and break stuff. And the difference between when we were putting a man into space for the very first time and now we have the internet and everyone has smartphones with high definition cameras on them. So they're moving fast and breaking things. And I want to say one of the extraordinary things about that spacecraft, which is called Starship, is that if you listen to Elon Musk talk about Tesla, he said over and over again that it's very easy to make a prototype car. It is very hard to mass produce that car. So he is not only making this new type of rocket, but he's also creating the manufacturing arm, or the what do you call it? What did Henry Ford set up? The when they built the cars in the line?
Like an assembly line?
Assembly line. Thank you. I don't know why I'm forgetting that word. But he's also created the assembly line for this. So his whole goal with the ship is to colonize Mars. And so we're going to need a couple things. One, we're going to need a very big ship. And number two, we're going to need a lot of them. So he's like, instead of figuring out the ship and then figuring out how to manufacture them, let's do it both at the same time. So every time we learn something from the ship, we'll just make a change, the assembly line, and we'll just fix it there.
Yeah.
So I think the cool part about all this is like, this ship that just exploded, it's a big deal for many reasons, but they actually have 2 more ships ready to go.
Oh, nice.
And the 2 ships that they've got ready to go are more advanced than the ship they just launched.
Okay.
So there was a piece of them that just wanted to, first of all, in any failure, if you're doing things right, you'll learn something from it.
Right.
And so they thought, well, instead of just moving to the next ships, why don't we use this, even though it's outdated, even though it's brand new and outdated, let's just use it. And whatever we learn, and we'll be able to make changes to the other 2 ships that are ready to go before we let them off.
Right.
So they straight up said right beforehand, if it makes it off the launch platform, it's a win.
Yeah.
And anything after that is just icing on the cake.
Yeah.
So when I watch normal news and they're like, another failure, and everyone in that room is like, yes, we did it. Did you see it get off the launch pad?
Yeah.
That was their goal.
Yeah. Nice.
And they accomplished that.